the context of your life? Is it the same? Because if the context changes, you need to revisit the obligation. All right? What was fair and reasonable at one time doesn't necessarily stay that way. That may be why you are in part bumping your head or wearing yourself out so that you've got nothing left, right? Nothing left to give. Okay. Do you have time and energy? Are your dreams, your desires, your goals, what level of priority are they in your life? What level of priority is your plan, your desire for your life? Where does it rate? All right. And are you clear about what those dreams, desires, and goals are? Do they remain unmet because they remain vague? All right. So we've spent 15 minutes on that. We will come back to it if there is time, but let's move over to the questions. All right, let's see, chat, we've got 3. All right. Do you start with the dream and then make the desires and goals, i.e. is walking a 9-hole golf course a dream or a goal? If it starts with a dream, then the desires and goals should be in line. When I did the exercises, I started with goals and then I did desires, but I never got to dreams. And they do not have the same intent or direction, like walking or keeping my house clean or losing weight are my goals, but not really my dreams. Can you give an example of values or beliefs? And are they listed in your book? Yes, they are. There's a whole chapter on goal setting, all right? And for a good reason. Thank you to the participant today who asked that. Okay, so what drives you is your overarching plan. That is your dream. The dream comes first because the dream is the big roadmap to your life. And your desires, those are the smaller little milestones along the way. So in this example, depending on amounts, of course, on the sheer volume. If you're looking at a dream, I see all of this, okay? These are the little pinpoints of a dream that might be, I can't tell you this, you know whether this resonates with you. So as an example, I'm hearing you say that your dream, big dream, is to be healthy. You want health, you want an increased level of fitness because that will give you something essential that you feel you're missing. Okay, you want your health back. That's what I'm hearing. That's the dream, I would think. So you can extrapolate from all of these pinpoints that you mentioned. Walking 9 holes, woot woot to you. That is a goal. Absolutely, it's a goal. But don't let your goals drive your dreams. Make your goals, make your dreams happen. They're little pieces. What is the overarching need here? And I'm hearing you say better health. And it sounds, because a lot of this is physical, all right, that we're looking at fitness, a higher level. We're not talking, you know, 400 squats, all right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about you feel good in your own body, and it is not exacting a price, either in shame because you don't look like yourself. You don't recognize yourself when you walk down a street and you see yourself reflected in a window. Okay, I've had many people tell me that, and who's that? That's walking awful close to me. And then they go, whoa, when did that happen? All right, that's not me. And so you want to be you. You want to be the most vibrant, engaged person that you are capable of being, is what I see is the goal. Like the goal, the dream. Okay, this is your roadmap. Okay, and I'm betting that if you're these sorts of things that you mention here, I'm betting you may be living with some kind of chronic pain. All right, when you're talking about walking, being able to walk 9 holes, that takes an ability not to be worn out or disabled by paying a price the next day in the form of orthopedic or muscular pain, right? And you mentioned keeping your house clean. I also hear you say, what I hear you say there is, I want my home to feel welcoming. I want it to feel comforting. I'm sick and tired of it being just a reminder of how I'm not really meeting the mark and I can't stay ahead of it. And it's not welcoming. I have to kind of do this too often. I always seem to have a goal, those darn counters. I always seem to, it just doesn't sort of go, hello, you're home, welcome you. Okay, that's what I hear you saying there. And I'm going to ask you though, when you see those things, all right, don't personalize it. Please, all of you, don't make it about how you're failing or how you're not meeting the mark. Ask the positive question. And the positive question is, what do I need right now? This is bugging me. This is a reminder that I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel this way when I see this pile. Don't make it about the whole thing right off the bat. Pick the part, safety first, health second, a very close second, and happiness, what it's going to look like, all right? The ambiance, third, all right? So in that order, always in that order, all right? What bugs me the most? What is irritating me? What is the thing that is like a little voice in the committee nagging me? Okay, that becomes a committee member. Yeah, but what about the counters? Yeah, but what about the piles? Yeah, but what about the dining room table and under it? Yeah, what about the fact we can't get in the garage? All of those little committee voices, right? That just say, sorry, you haven't reached excellence yet. You're good enough. Don't personalize it. Ask yourself, what do I need here? Do I need help? All right, some things are a 2-person job. It's amazing the number of people who say to me, why is it easier if I just have like a friend over and they sit there? They don't actually even help me with it. Because you know what? We've said this before, and I've said it as a joke, and it is a joke, but the people who get up and just are dying to clean up, okay, are dying to face the things that are particularly a nagging problem for them. I don't know any of those people, all right? And even if I did, we probably wouldn't like them, all right? They have other issues, all right? So just be yourself, accept yourself, and never give up. Ask yourself, what do I need? Do I need a friend to come over? You can socially distance, all right? You can socially distance. Do I need, one of my favorites in the kitchen, I think I talked about this in podcast 1, is before you start blaming yourself, ask yourself, do I have the right tools? All right? If I have a little designer garbage in the kitchen, that is never going to work. So look around at where the piles are happening. What are the kinds of things that present a barrier? There probably are some common threads. Here in this situation, wanting to get rid of the clutter, right? Look, do I have the right tools? Do I have the right storage? All right. What do I need to do to fill the tank? Maybe I'm out of energy. All right. We know what we need. You need enough sleep. Okay, my favorite expression, I hope everybody is old enough to remember this, is go to the mattresses. All right. Going to the mattresses is go back to the basics. Are you getting enough sleep? Do you have a sleep disorder? Do you need a CPAP machine and you're resisting? All right, you're resisting getting the tool you need. Are you eating properly? Are you hydrating? It's amazing how you can get through that exercise, that aerobics class, when you think you're going to die and you have a few gulps of water. It's amazing. Okay? Are you hydrated? Are there any other health issues that are misdirecting you? Okay? Are you dependent on any kind of non-issued, non-prescribed medication? All right. Are you retreating to maybe an overuse of alcohol? All right. Are you retreating to binge watching escape on Netflix or some sort of direction? All right. So I told you last week I'm working with 2 people now, okay, who have set goals, and 3 goals: joy, fun, and play, growing, learning, developing human being, being reminded activities, and plain old boring work, okay, in equal proportions. And they send me like a 2-line email. This is my goal. These are my goals. And today I did da-da. Are they accountable to me? No. They're externalizing their own accountability to each other. If that would help you, I don't have time to read an email this big, but a summary of, and here's the key, right? We talked about this the night before. Make a commitment to yourself. What are you going to address for that 15 minutes? If you're a month down the road and you've already been doing it, it's probably safe to consider trying an extra 15 minutes, right? But once you start the second 15 minutes, you have to finish it. So think long and hard before you promise away energy you might not have, all right? And then celebrate. Now, this person celebrates with one piece of really great chocolate. All right, woot woot, I say, go big or go home. What do you need to celebrate with? What do you need to celebrate with? Okay, use those 3 goals. Okay, so we have 4 more messages. Okay, that hits the mark if someone special is coming. Rare I get energy. Sleep, hugs, feeling cared about. Oh yeah, basic needs always have good results in action. I care less about stuff. Yes, of course. When I feel recognized, yes. Sugar, flour, books, and wine are comforts, yes. Wine I might fear more, but sugar is like a pill. Not very effective, that's true. Sugar will burn you out, okay? Here's the thing. Anything that's legal is not a no-no, all right? But there are some things that might have a counterpoint to them, a counterweight to them, all right? And anything sugar-based, like too much of it or the regularity of it, it's going to give you a boost and it's going to drop you like a stone, all right? So it's in the overall, over about 4 hours, it's going to cost you more energy than it gave you. The taste of something is one thing, but if you find it hard to go beyond the taste, which is like an instant delight for you, please think about something else, okay? The same with wine or any other alcohol. It is a great perk, all right, but it also is going to cost you. One of the things that quite often will happen even after one glass of wine is your inhibitions, all right? Those things that are holding you on the path when you're getting started. It's funny how they get really fuzzy. One little glass of wine and suddenly, oh, I might have a few peanuts, or I might, where's that chocolate cake, all right? It just makes more things okay that in the long run probably are going to detract. So yes, absolutely. So where is the recognition? I respectfully suggest that the recognition is a gift to yourself first, all right? You recognize yourself in meaningful ways, all right? What would some of those look like? Think now, please, and send me your ideas. What would self-recognition look like? All right, when the rubber hits the road, what would it be? It's okay to stand there and say, I did it and feel good. Is that enough? All right, is that enough? Who do you know? Who do you trust? Who really gets you? What if you were to send off a picture? Take a picture with, if you have a smartphone, and say before, after, yay. Okay, applause would be appreciated. Have some fun with it, all right? What would self-recognition look like? And how can you negotiate? How can you negotiate that recognition with people you genuinely value and you know value you? All right? Caffeine, yes, caffeine can. Is that true? Is that true, Maureen? Caffeine? Okay. You're talking to the girl who drinks 2 cups. Okay, I'll tell you the story of my French roast. My French roast interview sometime. 2 cups of French roast mixed with a 1/3 espresso. Yes, okay. I'll keep an eye on it, Maureen. Thank you very much. Not living on caffeine. The thing about caffeine is it needs to be in some balance, right? So for every cup of coffee you have, you should have an equal amount of water, okay? Just to balance out. But a good cup of coffee is right up there. No, it's from Leah. No, it's not. I mean, saying, wow, I did it. It isn't enough. I agree about the caffeine. Leanne, if it's not enough, and I completely agree with you, but it starts with you, okay? The reason it starts with you is because you are the only one who truly understands what it took to do that. All right. And so you don't become dependent. Yes, of course, a hug, acknowledgement, a high five, some kind of recognition from people you know, love, and respect, and who respect you, all right, is wonderful. But it has to start with you. Don't make yourself dependent and guided by the opinions of others, because then you're meeting their needs, you're not meeting your needs. All right? It has to always start with what you give yourself. We take absolute personal responsibility for having our needs met, because we are the only ones who truly understand what that means to us. And when we get enough, and if we don't get our A needs met, and enough on a pretty semi-regular basis of our B needs, we're going to be looking for something else to meet those needs. And there's not going to be enough of it. All right, whether it's caffeine, alcohol, sugar, whatever it is, stuff. Okay? There's not going to be enough because it's the wrong thing. Stay focused. We are personally responsible for knowing our needs and developing ways to get enough of our needs met that we can remain in the good zone. All right, okay. I'm trying not to use food as a celebration. I like coffee, and no one comes between. No one comes. I think we must be related. No one comes between me and my morning coffee. I do not like hugs or shaking hands in church, but the feeling of being able to invite people without having to think if they can come into the house, without my feeling that the place is not welcoming, is my celebration. That's great. That's really good. Okay. Do we have any others down here? Let me have a look. Where do we go? All right. So, does anybody else have a dream they want to share? We have 25 minutes. I'm turning it over to you folks today. Let me do one from last week that I may not have. Let me see here. Okay. I'm learning to get it from me. Okay. It's hard after years, of using other things to fulfill that feeling. I cannot have coffee and chocolate, which were my go-to. I'm very happy when I get something accomplished. So, to everyone, Leanne, tell us how you celebrate. Tell us how you give yourself self-recognition. Yes, done is the nicest reward. Okay. So what kinds of things are we talking about done? All right. When we talk about done, what are you folks seeing as done? Because there are some tasks, particularly piles, that have built up where you can achieve done. All right. There are other tasks like kitchen counters. Kitchens are bad for that. Bathrooms can be bad for that. Where the done is time limited because the need to use those areas is a repeat. And sometimes you feel like, is this ever going to be done? It took a lot of effort to do it. And here we are again at the end of the day, and it's not done. Who has that experience, and what do you tell yourself? While you're thinking about that, I'm going to read another one here. I dream of having every room organized and the outside areas where I have time to keep my house tidy and clean and time to do whatever projects I want to do. All right, can you give us some specific ideas of what that is? And what kinds of things when you're talking about outside areas? Even small bits, well-made bed, okay, crisp sheets, cleaned off table for this session, laying the table. Tiny things do help the carry on. They absolutely do. They do. And so remember what that balance is of motivating change behavior, right? It's the belief and experience that you can do it. You have the tools, you have the knowledge, and you are competent. You're physically and mentally able to do it. The other side of that balance, however, is, and it's enough of a priority. So maybe that's a question I want to throw out to you. What are your techniques? What are your strategies for raising the priority level of dealing with and resolving that area that has been there a while? And maybe you've been tempted to put blinders on to kind of, oh, maybe it'll just, I just don't want to look at it right now. What are the techniques and strategies you use for that? Right now, done is keeping my hot zone, okay, to a minimum, and the areas that have been taken care of, maintained. Yes, that's excellent. Work it from both ends. Small inroads, small, steady, regular inroads on the areas that bother you the most, and on the areas, particularly, usually they are areas that involve activities of daily living. So bathrooms, kitchens, putting the groceries away, not just the raw produce and things. An office, what is the bare minimum, or a computer area, what is the bare minimum? One of the things I do, I do it either last thing at night if I have the energy, or it's the first thing I do in the morning after my coffee. And that is, I just take a quick walk around, particularly the ground floor, and look at anything that I might have put down and left. Because it's easier to do 3 things than it is to come back and realize if that was an inviting drop zone, all right, it's always going to be an inviting drop zone. And so that's where the highest probability of something becoming overwhelming or so complex that I've got to walk 6 places to put things around, rather than 1 or 2 places. I look at how big the job could possibly get, all right, and how complex, because the more complexity of the things in that space, the more there's a risk of it becoming overwhelming and inviting to ignore, all right? So for me, when where did you go there? For me, when I set small goals, even having the kitchen cleaned up in the morning so it looks nice when I come in from outside, I like it. When I have a pile of clutter that gets cleaned up, right? A small, and I like the idea that Ellen said of, at the other end too, that maintaining. Don't lose ground, all right? And if you find you're losing ground, get to bed early the night before, get yourself lots of sleep, eat something in the morning, or particularly if you have health concerns that require you to do that. Good, absolute good self-care first, and then the thing you least want to do, all right? So long as it doesn't exceed the energy you have in the tank. Right? Don't give all the energy away. Even a Royal Great Dent in it is better. Another thing too, for people who may find that when they're trying to put things away, yes, they can hold on to the thing or look at it or touch it or whatever, and they can say, if I was looking for you, where would the first place be that I would look? Yes, that is its permanent place. And yes, that's where it should go. There is a should, because that's where you're always going to look for it first. All right. Now, you can run into 2 difficulties there, though. All right. You could run into the difficulty that when you get there, that space is already occupied. Right? And then you think, now what do I have to do with you? All right. If you can't overcome that, I would suggest, as counterintuitive as this sounds, so long as you are not creating a safety, okay, or a health hazard, put it as close to where it needs to go, where it should go, its permanent place, as you possibly can. And it is not a matter, all right, of moving piles. That's not a matter of moving piles, all right? Because as you work your way systematically along, you're going to get to this place. And chances are you're going to have opened up the permanent place for the thing that is in the place of where this first object needs to go. All right? Look for, and another thing, if you're getting started and you're feeling overwhelmed. Now, this is really hard to do mentally because in some ways it doesn't make sense, but it is absolutely the right way to go about it. That is, always start, if you're confounded, okay? Safety first, health a very close second, always. Always, always, always. But right after that, right, start with the storage areas. Because whatever you're going to have to resolve along the way, you want to have that feeling of accomplishment. I love the fact that I think it was Leanne or Meredith who said, done feels so good, all right? You're going to need those storage areas. You're going to need those storage areas. Pick one place that is, it's a little like, does anybody here sew? Put your hands up. Anybody here sew? Okay, all right. And so, that wasn't a joke. And so, you know when you're sewing, you want to lay things out, you want to leave them and come back to it without it being disrupted, without having to pack everything up and put it away and then haul it out again. That's what your staging area should be. Pick a place that probably isn't in the main living area in case you want to have people in, or, and it definitely doesn't block a safety hazard like fire safety, mobility safety, access to emergency services, not around a heat source, and probably not taking up areas where the activities of daily living, eating, sleeping, working, preparing food, that kind of thing, okay? But pick a small area and set up your boxes or set up your bags, all right? And label them so that they're easy. You don't have to waste energy. You know, what was that? Was this the new stuff? Just label them or set them apart. You can even, there are handy little tools like, has anybody, for the large contractor size garbage bags, okay, if that's what you're using, and I highly recommend, I know I've said this before, but I highly recommend, and I get nothing for it, the Glad contractor size flex bags, because they will give, all right? They will give and hold a lot more. They're also a fair bit lighter to lift. They're much easier to lift than the solid, heavier gauge ones. And they've got these really great, it's like an X frame that you can get. They're probably just a few dollars. And setting those up with your bag in the middle of it, open, not, you know, all crumpled up on the floor, and you've got to bend every time. You're exhausted, your back hurts by the end of it. And just, you know, put clothespins on the sides of it goes like this. It's here, and then they cross over this way. And it's like an X frame. And they're just medium gauge metal, steel maybe, and those bags fit perfectly over them, all right? Set that up in one area so that you've got a staging area to work from, all right? And your bags should be Discard is one. You're gonna come across some things that you do want to throw out. Keep, all right. Recycle, and donate. Those are the prime ones. There are two others that you can consider, but really think long and hard about this. All right, think long and hard about this. One is sell, all right, because and please just forget garage sales and yard sales. They are, I know people who believe in them really believe in them, but they take so much time and effort, and nobody wants to pay anything like what they're worth. So unless it is some kind of a social thing for you, where it's a way to kind of, have your enough people fix, but you don't have to be best friends, unless it meets some other need for you economically, it's probably, you want to think long and hard about selling, okay? I'm going to also, if you're just getting started and you're really not firm on it, or you're not far enough down that path, I'm also going to ask you to use Buy Nothing, posting on Buy Nothing sites, all right, really with caution, because they are a slippery slope. You can't list something without seeing something. All right. And if you happen to be one of those people who has what I call the engineer's brain, and those are, crafty people, they're artists, they're creative people, they're think outside the box. What are the possibilities here? Oh, or deal finders. Okay. They are a slippery slope to a place that you may not want to go. The other criteria, the other grouping that you can use, all right, you can use, but again, you need to think about it. Get one relatively small area, so maybe a shelving unit, all right, one of those metal shelving units that you can get at any of the hardware stores. And so long as the space that you allocate to it does not take space away that you need for something else that's a higher priority, right? Sometimes you do come across gifts that you purchased previously, but they got lost, or you forgot you had them, or there are things that you really like, but it's time to let them go because the fun was in the finding and buying. You haven't so much used them, and you can't really see that that's going to change anytime soon. Then what I would ask you to do is consider, only if you can actually think of somebody specific who would want and need that thing, you can make a regifting shelf. And the benefit of that then is that the next time you would normally give that person a gift, do not go out and acquire for this purpose, okay? That's dangerous, all right? You can take it and put it on the shelf with their name on it. And the next time you would give them a gift, shop from the shelving unit, all right? There are rare circumstances where that makes absolute sense. Okay, so Leanne, for me, when I set small goals, even having the kitchen cleaned up in the morning so it looks nice, I've read this before, come in from outside, I like it. And it feels great. I have a pile of clutter that gets cleaned up. It does feel good. And a lend to everyone. A timer is a good thing because I don't want you overdoing. I don't want you, it sounds like a contradiction. I don't want you overdoing because you won't go back to it. All right. 15 minutes if you've been doing it for at least 3 weeks and you are religious. And if you want to send me an email every morning, hi, I did my 15 minutes and this is what it looked like before, this is what it looked like after, or you describe the pile, wonderful. And I will send you a short reply. It's not just going to sit in my inbox, okay? But after maybe 3 weeks, a month of boom, 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 I'm on track here and I'm forming a habit, all right? You can add another 15 minutes. If you start the second 15 minutes, you have to finish it because that's part of self-regulation, okay? And self-regulating, okay? Developing that knack, that skill, and understanding what the rewards and the payoffs are for that. That's a huge motivator and reinforcer. Tackling it, yes, in the morning, I do believe, unless you happen to be a dyed-in-the-wool late nighter, all-nighter, okay? Some people are early birds and some people aren't. And I kind of believe it's part of hardwiring, our circadian rhythm, our individual circadian rhythm. However, you can take yourself away from that endless game of solitaire, all right, and give yourself 15 minutes if that's your natural time. But I do believe that it's best, if possible, if you can manage it, that it's the first thing you do when you get up after you do whatever necessary, appropriate self-care in the morning. As I do a plan for activities in the evening, always commit the night before. Okay, that is going to stay with you through, it's going to cement its way down. That is the time in your sleep is when you heal. It's also when your mind is working out the plans that you need or the problems you're having. And they can be reflected in dreams as well. So I can get a good night's sleep. Yeah, so once you've decided it, you don't have to be concerned about what you're going to do in the morning. All right, you don't have to be concerned. Do we have any other chats here? Let me see if I've got another one here. Question. In trying to establish this balanced approach to daily tasks, does the time spent in all three sections, joy, self-improvement, honest work, need to be equal? It needs to at least be equal. Okay, particularly when you're starting, yes, because it's about balance. Remember, think of your teeter-totter. Okay, think of your teeter-totter. And if there's, on a regular basis, we're not talking a one-off, on a regular basis, if there's way too much joy, fun, and play, and that's kind of what you specialize, you know, in first thing in the morning, and that growing, learning, developing human being, all right, and the honest work, if they're not in proportion to one another, you don't have balance. Yes, balance, because balance is what we're looking for. And you know what? I mean, it can be little. Monday, my learning, growing, developing human being was learning how to plant irises. Who knew? Who knew that it's only supposed to be like an inch or a half an inch? All right. Yeah, I had somebody, I have a gardening assistant because I love my garden. And to make it fun, to make it joyful rather than, oh gosh, it's time to weed the garden. Oh, I'm sorry I ever put a garden in. All right. There are times when I'm just not up to 3 hours of weeding. All right. One of the sacrifices I make so I don't have something else is I have a gardening assistant, and she comes, and it's a hoot, even when you do personally distance. All right. And I learn all kinds of things that just make me feel like, yay. And I go out and I'm so happy that I didn't kill the irises. All right. Okay, or if one puts at least 15 minutes in one section and more in another, yeah, does that defeat the habit aspect one is trying to establish? If you do it on a regular basis, yes. All right, yes. Because that joy, fun, and play doesn't, later on, as you move forward and you're living this stuff, it's coming to you naturally. That joy, fun, and play, that is something you're going to have hits of throughout the day because it's going to become an attitude. It's going to become who you are. All right? Finding that thing that just kind of gives you, I have, and maybe I will post it if we could post it on this, that would be great. I've got a bed of dwarf, deep, deep purple irises that I don't think I could be prouder of if they were puppies. Okay. And every time I walk out and I see them, I go, oh, you guys, thank you. This is so nice. And you know, it's the same thing as cleaning up, because I did something and it worked. And that gives me joy. So it becomes an attitude. And then you start to open up the horizons on either side, and you start to realize it isn't just about the dwarf irises. All right. It's also about something else. And you're finding that throughout your day, your whole attitude, that whole judge yourself harshly, beat yourself up, disapprove of yourself, ask yourself questions like, what's wrong with me that I can't? You know, why can't I? Everybody else can. Comparing yourself disfavorably. All right. That, even if you do a little bit of that, this other thing makes up for it. It becomes an attitude. And growing, learning, developing human being, that's probably a little more activity related. Maybe you want to write a book. Maybe you want to paint a painting. Maybe you want to take photographs and you want to learn to do that better. Maybe you want, I don't know, maybe you want to learn Word 10 perfectly, or Microsoft 10 perfectly. All right. Getting better at something. Using a timer is a good idea, just particularly on the work part. When you're getting started, probably on most of it, on all three categories. On the work part, yes, because it'll be a very long time, all right, before it's wise to do a marathon, all right? It's the coming back to it. It's the association you make with overextending yourself. It is not a good thing. It is not a good thing. And always learning to factor in, who am I today? How am I feeling? All right. How much energy do I have? And not giving into the negative. That does not mean you don't do it. But truth, anybody, pretty much anybody, can do anything for 15 minutes. All right. And that sense of even a little bit of accomplishment, that will be something that you look back on throughout that day and say, no, I'm allowed to enjoy this because I did that. All right. And I will come back to that. The rest of the day is mine. Okay. Any questions before we finish? It's 12 now, a little bit after. Any pressing questions right now?